Hello, ladies and gentlemen of the National Collegiate Athletic Association. Thank you for taking the time to listen to my presentation. I just wanted to take a few minutes to talk to you about student-athlete compensation. As you probably already know, there has recently been quite a bit of controversy surrounding this topic. Unfortunately, it's only going to get worse. In light of this, I have 4 points I want to ask that each of you think about and carefully consider as you formulate your plan for this complicated topic going forward. The first is, everyone in college athletics is generously compensated except for the athletes. The variance between current compensation level and market value forces athletes into ethical dilemmas. Big-time Division I football and basketball players are not students first. And finally, current compensation practices have been challenged by the justice system, and the NCAA may very well be forced to rethink its policies. As I'm sure all of you know, college athletics in this country is big business and getting bigger and more profitable every year. You can see this clearly on the graph showing the NCAA's annual television revenue from 1982 through 2011. This graph effectively shows the increased revenue the NCAA is taking in from TV contracts, but is also a larger indicator of the popularity of college sports, as it indicates the larger viewing audiences who are also more likely to purchase merchandise, video games, tickets, etc. In total, college athletics is an $11 billion industry and growing every year. With all this money coming in, it only makes sense that the rewards for those who succeed increase proportionally. Currently, the average salary of a Division I head football coach is $1.75 million, and the average for a Division I basketball coach is $1.4 million. The best of the best coaches can earn significantly more than that, such as Nick Saban, who earns $7 million a year. There's nothing wrong with this per se. The head coaches who are successful enough to reach this elite level of competition are an incredibly bright, talented, and hardworking group. They hold a large portion of the credit or blame for the successes or failures of their programs. However, a large portion of that must also be attributed to the actual athletes on the field. The question this poses is, if the success of a Division I football or basketball team is valuable enough to justify those kinds of salaries for the coaches, aren't the players also valuable? The ones who actually make the plays on the field, whose jerseys thousands of fans spend their hard-earned money on? They're the true revenue generators in this industry. I have a feeling you all recognize this quote on the PowerPoint. University of Connecticut's star point guard's infamous comments to a reporter after winning the national championship last year. His feelings of frustration, as he is so successful on the court, sees fans at every game and all over campus wearing his jersey, yet he can barely afford to feed himself. This dichotomy between the market value of these athletes and the meager cost of school compensation they actually receive causes a lot of issues. The fact is, they're worth far more than they currently receive, and they know it. It is understandable that they would consider the temptation to violate NCAA regulations and accept the money that is constantly being offered to them for their autograph by NFL agents, boosters, and even sometimes their own school, especially if they can't afford to eat. Currently, a running back from the University of Georgia, Todd Gurley, is suspended for 4 games for selling his autograph to memorabilia collectors. He was a leading Heisman Trophy candidate, one of the best football players in the game today. It's just such a waste for UGA to lose him for half the season, for college football to lose him for half the season. Instances like this are not caused by the player's greed or immorality. They're caused by the difference between what these athletes are worth and what the NCAA allows them to receive. They're not going to stop. Some get caught, some don't, but their value goes up as the industry grows, just like their coaches and just like the TV contracts. The difference is they're not paid what they're worth. A common argument for why student athletes should not be compensated is that they are truly students first. They're attending a college to earn a degree, and their participation in sports is just a part of this academic journey. This is a noble idea, but unfortunately, it is not reflected in reality. Given the NBA and NFL minimum age requirements, all future NBA and NFL players who grow up in America are essentially forced to play college sports. All of the athletes who play Division I football or basketball are extremely talented individuals who no doubt have aspirations of a professional sports career. As the former quarterback of Ohio State University, Cardale Jones, eloquently points out in his tweet, they're athletes, not academics. They're not in college to earn a degree or to learn. They're in college to play their chosen sport and attempt to be drafted into a professional league. If they could do so without going to college, they probably would. At the end of the day, they should not be treated as typical college students because they're not typical college students. They generate millions of dollars in revenue for their respective schools, and they deserve to be compensated for it. There has recently been a few court cases weighing in on the NCAA and its rules pertaining to student athletes. The one most relevant and most damaging to the NCAA's current compensation practices is O'Bannon v. NCAA. In her ruling, Judge Claudia Wilkin ruled in favor of the plaintiffs, the former players. The reasoning was that the NCAA was violating the Sherman Antitrust Act, essentially acting as a buyer's cartel to restrain price competition for college athletes. This ruling has set a new precedent, opening the door for more lawsuits in the future. The NCAA needs to revise its compensation practices, if for no other reason than that it would be advantageous to get ahead of the changing legal environment in order to control the situation. Otherwise, judges will be making NCAA policy decisions for it. The times are changing, and what had been business as usual for the NCAA has now been ruled illegal, in violation of the law. It is time to react and proactively modify business practices to protect the NCAA from future litigation. Compensation of student athletes is now an unavoidable reality, and the NCAA must bend in order to protect itself from breaking. College athletics in America is an enormous multi-billion-dollar industry and growing more and more every year. The value of many of the coaches, athletic directors, etc. is reflected in their salaries, but the athletes themselves still receive no compensation beyond the cost of tuition and room and board. This difference between their market value and their compensation creates unavoidable temptations which undermine the NCAA and its mission. These athletes are not truly students. Most of them are recruited and accepted into their schools specifically for their athletic abilities. They create value and contribute to generating large revenues for their schools and the NCAA, and they deserve to be compensated for it. If the NCAA does not act on its own to correct this issue, their hand will be forced through the justice system. It is time for the NCAA to review and revise its compensation regulations in order to preserve the college athletic system and the NCAA's role in it. Please consider the points I have made today. I love college sports and I don't want anything to happen to them. Thank you for your time.